Welcome back for another video. Just barely kickstarted 2025 on the green arrow, 82 points all out last game week. Trent finally delivering a big return with a goal, a clean sheet and all 3 bonus points, despite Salah scoring 16 points himself. Wood with a goal and a clean sheet, for me that was a 12 pointer, that felt like a huge score. Glad I kept hold of him as well, as the fixtures don't look too bad now, and you'd imagine that many Cunha owners are going to be moving towards Wood as a replacement. Strand Larsen was benched and a bit fortunate as he came on at half time for Cunha, who was carrying an injury, and he went on to score a late equaliser and he clinched a bonus point. So Isak's now scored in 6 games in a row, 8 goals over those 6 games, plus 2 assists, absolutely crazy form, and there's every chance he keeps going with the next couple of fixtures. I had some really tough benching decisions as well between Strand Larsen, Wood, Bone and Semenyo, and I managed to make the correct call for once. Semenyo with another benched return, but not as painful given the alternative scored higher. What was disappointing, however, was the end to the game week with no returns from Raya, Gabriel and Ødegaard and a 3-1 win over Brentford. Only 0.32 expected goals conceded against Brentford, which was the lowest of every team in Game Week 19. Ødegaard not looking as involved as I'd hoped when I picked him up as my Saka replacement either. But I don't think it's worth getting rid of him just yet, I'll stay patient for now. So let's have a look at your FPL Masterclass or Disaster classes sent in from last game week. Jay says, does this count? Well, it certainly does. He finished on 107 points. He had Trent, Salah, Martinelli, Rodgers, Isak, Wood and João Pedro. United Brosen says, I thought I'd be different with Palmer captaincy. Got 4 points from Palmer as captain and blanks from 6 other players for 54 points all out. Don Carter says, a Liverpool triple up masterclass, and that triple up was Trent, Luis Diaz and Salah. He got 56 points between them, and that resulted in a total score of 110 points, absolutely crazy points. FPL Dan says, horror show on my bench. Dan benched João Pedro, Hall and Greaves, who ended up on 27 points between them. I had Greaves on my bench as well, and let's be honest, we never expected an Ipswich clean sheet against Chelsea in fairness. Surely no one got more than Don's 110 points. Well, one person did. FPL Commissioner says, one of the luckiest weeks you'll ever see. Pretty much everything went perfect. They finished on 114 points, and the only blanks in the entire team were Gabriel and Palmer. Loads of differential points in there as well, and a green arrow to 6.8k. Well played. Let's get onto the team for Game Week 20 then, and transfer plans. Raya travels to the south coast for an away game against Brighton. Although no clean sheet last game, it was frustrating. The good underlying numbers were still there. Just 4 shots in the box conceded was lowest of Game Week 19, and as I said earlier, 0.32 expected goals conceded, also the lowest. I'm hoping they can shut them out as someone with no João Pedro this week, but I am considering buying him later in Game Week 21. I suppose this week he'll be on lots of benches anyway. In defence, it's a back 3 of Trent, Gabriel and Colwill. I've actually been wondering whether to start Colwill or Munoz. They face one another in Game Week 20. In a nutshell, Colwill with a better clean sheet odds, but Munoz with significantly more goal threat. Chelsea are in a bad patch of form as well, losing to Fulham and Ipswich on the bounce. As far as clean sheet odds this week, Villa are top with 45% against Leicester, and then it's Fulham and Liverpool tied in second. Chelsea have been given a 29% chance, and Palace about half that. Which one would you play? Current plan is to play Colwill. The other bit of bad news right at the end of last game week for Arsenal was Timber picking up his 5th yellow card of the season, and he'll be suspended for that trip to Brighton. It could be Partey in right back up against Mitoma. Arsenal cannot afford to drop a single point from now on. The pressure's already on, trailing Liverpool by 6 points, plus Liverpool sitting on that game in hand against Everton. It's an amazing fixture for Trent, however, playing against Man United at Anfield. United have lost 5 of their last 6 games in the league, and they've got their toughest fixture yet. Liverpool joint second on the clean sheet odds as well this week. There's been some reports about Trent possibly leaving for Real Madrid at the end of the season, or even in the January window, which would be a nightmare. Paul Joyce is the one reporting it, he's very reliable for Liverpool news. I just can't imagine a world where they let him go in January, even if it means potentially losing him for free in the summer, given that they're currently in pole position in the title race. The January window of course now open, so we'll have to keep an eye on transfer activity at clubs, as it's not impossible for players to come in that could affect who we've got in our teams, or maybe even someone in our teams leaving. Liverpool didn't come through last game week unscathed though. Gomez off injured, which means it's probably going to be Quansah that comes in at centre back, with Konate still out injured as well. Don't get your hopes up with Quansah though, Konate is not far from a return. I've made a transfer in midfield already. The lineup is Gordon, Salah, Palmer, Ødegaard and Semenyo, so Gordon comes in for the injured Bowen. West Ham have announced that he sustained a fractured foot injury from the game against Liverpool, so he's set for a spell on the sidelines, so he's my main priority to sell him. Gordon just made perfect sense in my position. He's in great form, amazing fixtures, and affordable in one transfer, pretty much sideways price-wise. Newcastle look like a serious team right now. They're battling for Champions League spots. 4 straight wins on the bounce, and they're away to Spurs next, and then they're home to Wolves and Bournemouth, away to Southampton, and home to Fulham. His underlying data is looking great as well. 9.54 XGI this season, ranks 4th best among midfielders after Salah, Palmer and Saka. And Saka of course injured long term, so I've got the top 3 available right now. 11 big chances have fallen to him this season, and he's created 41 chances for teammates. It's the last game week you really want to be starting Semenyo in, and he always seems to do the points when I bench him, so I'm not getting my hopes up. He is home to Everton in Gameweek 20, which isn't too bad. It really depends on how Everton's set up though. It was a bit more of an open game against Forest, as expected in last week's videos. Perhaps because Everton would be expected to go for a bit more, as opposed to against the likes of City, Chelsea and Arsenal. Forest registered more expected goals than Chelsea and Arsenal managed. Still undecided who would be the best Semenyo replacement, but I've got another week to sit on it, having already made a transfer for Gameweek 20 anyway. Palmer gets the vice captaincy away to Palace. Although it's been the Salah show this season, reflecting back on 2024 for a moment, he actually scored more points than anyone with 295 last year. Haaland had the most goals in 2024 with 27, Salah the most assists with 18, and Palmer got the most bonus points as well. Flecker made the most saves, and Ryan Saliba's 18 clean sheets was the most last year. Captaincy seems pretty straightforward this week. Gameweek 21 looks like an interesting one though, with Liverpool away to Forest, while Chelsea home to Bournemouth. So it's Salah captain then against the Man United side in dire form. I mean, it's one of the weakest Man United lineups in recent memory against Newcastle. Eriksen and Casemiro in midfield, pretty shocking. However, they do have both Ugarte and Fernandes back from suspension, which will give them some sort of lift. Is there anyone better in the world right now than Salah in current form? I think he is the best player in the world in current form, honestly, and I wonder if I'll even go against him for captaincy at any point in the near future. The first 2 games as an Ødegaard owner haven't been very reassuring, 0.21 and 0.38 XGI. He might not even be on penalties either. We'll have to see what happens if they win one while Saka's out. And Ranieri was even taking corners on the right side against Brentford, which I thought Ødegaard would be taking. That all said, I'm not sure I'll sell him for the next 4, and then I'll perhaps make a call before the Man City match further down the line. My front 2 is Wood and Isak. Number 1 and number 4 forwards for points this season, so I'm feeling very settled on these 2 anyway. If I look at my whole starting 11, the core of the team is there. Raya, Trent, Gabriel, Gordon, Salah, Palmer, Wood and Isak, and obviously Munoz on the bench. The more locked, core players that you've got in your team, the less likely you are to need to make transfers, or at least less likely to have issues to deal with. In my case, of course, the last 2 transfers were injuries. Fortunately, the rest of the team was strong enough not to force any hits. Isak completes the 11, and the news out of the Spurs camp is that Udogi's out for an estimated 6 to 10 weeks. They're surely going to make a defender sign in this window, because it's beyond bare bones currently. That's Udogi, Van der Ven, Romero, Davies and Vicario all out injured currently. The centre-backs aren't far from a return however, but it looks unlikely they're going to be back for the Newcastle game. Both expected back Gameweek 21 currently for the North London derby. Anyway, it's a great fixture to have Isak in your team. Anyone considering him for captaincy? On the bench, it's Fabianski, Strand Larsen, Munoz and Greaves. Cunha of course suspended for 2 games now, one of those in the league and one of those in the FA Cup, so Strand Larsen undoubtedly going to lead the line against Forest. Not a bad player to have first on the bench as depth, just in case. It was a bit concerning to see him benched for Hwang last match, though he did score after he came on. The only real decision left to make is Colwell or Munoz in the starting 11 this week. So Bowen to Gordon is done, which leaves me with 0.4 mil in the bank. Not much to work with, but one option I'm considering is Strand Larsen to João Pedro in Gameweek 21 when Brighton have got Ipswich. I like Brighton's fixtures from that week onwards. I currently have 0.2 mil wiggle room since João Pedro costs 0.2 mil more than Strand Larsen, so I went early on buying Gordon before his price rise with that in mind, just to make sure the option was there. I could alternatively do Semenyo to Ahmad when Man United are home to Southampton, but let's see what Gameweek 20 brings first anyway. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe for lots of FPL content to come this year. See you soon for the next one.